Quite significant mistakes. They posted losses of over 372 million.
The moment that train
divisive.
deviated off a track, everyone was going to pile in and say, we never wanted him here in the first place.
Everton owner Farhad Moshiri is not going on holiday, though. He is very much looking for active investment.
He's taking leave of his senses, some would say.
Well, he says the club is not for sale, and he did it in an email, an unsolicited email. He sent it to all season ticket holders and members of Everton Football Club yesterday, asking fans to not judge him until after the transfer window. Moshiri recently ended negotiations with a US consortium led by Peter Kenyon that was hoping to buy the club. Moshiri says the club is not for sale, and there is not a for sale sign out the front of Goodison Park, but he is actively looking for investment to help the funding of the new stadium at Bramley Moor Dock, after, of course, the sanctions that were imposed on Alisher Usmanov. Are Everton fans right to be concerned? Because it was just a week ago that they were in a exclusive period of negotiation with Peter Kenyon's group. So now saying it's not for sale does add to the sort of theory that it's a little bit chaotic behind the scenes.
No, not really. If you're going to sell something, you don't advertise the fact it's for sale, otherwise you start getting the price that the buyer wants to pay. If someone knocks on your door and you're not selling your house, you'll charge them twice the price and they'll be grateful for it.
So you think it is for sale?
I think everything's for sale. Everything's for sale if someone wants to pay the right price. It's been well established that Moshiri, I think, has been looking for an investor to come alongside him and help build the new stadium. He's secured Bramley in an innovative way, but I think he's looking for funding. Kenyon seems to want to stand at Speaker's Corner with a megaphone, letting everybody know which club he wants to buy, and goes and get crowdfunding for it, and never seems to deliver a deal. So when it was brought up 2 or 3 weeks ago, I said, tyre kicker, won't happen. And if it does happen, it'll be more around the funding of the stadium. Should Everton fans be concerned? Well, why? The guy's clearly got an appetite to fund your football club, has clearly had an appetite to fund your football club. He just has made mistakes. And those mistakes...
quite significant mistakes. They posted losses of over 372 million over 3 years.
Let's get to the nub of that. There's 272 million worth of allowable adjustments in there. Otherwise, they'd be sanctioning under FFP. Because if you look at the fact that Everton have had to write off a large amount of player values, they've been able to recapitalise the investments into the infrastructure of building a new stadium. They have not necessarily lost 372 million because of consistent bad trading. They've lost 372 million because they've made certain decisions, and also because COVID hit them quite hard. Now, I question some of their allowable adjustments, and so do some people in football, because coincidentally, when you drill it down, they've just come under the 105 million for the 3 years that they're allowed to have in FFP. That doesn't get them any sanctions. But they are on a watch list, which basically means the Premier League are saying to them, hold on a second, you guys, you can't trade the way you're trading. We need to see a better strengthening of your balance sheet. Hence the reasons why... Coutinho was sold, and people like Mikalenko were brought in because they sold that boy to Aston Villa for 25 million quid, booked a £16 million profit, which improved their position, and then went and bought other players that they could capitalise their balance sheet with. So whilst they are not free to trade, they are able to trade. So it's not in a great nick, and Moshiri has made some ridiculous decisions, specifically and explicitly in recent times, Rafa Benitez, because that was... Whilst Benitez is a very capable manager, you knew the moment that train deviated off a track, everyone was going to pile in and say, we never wanted him here in the first place.
Obvious, yeah. And
so I think you should be worried the fact that he has been in charge for 6 years. And over that 6 years period, the team has gone from being under Ronald Koeman, that looked like it was going in the right direction, and doing certain
under
things.
Roberto Martinez, when I remember being in Kiev with Roberto Martinez, them leading 3-1 in a European last 16 game.
Yep.
And now they just about saved themselves from relegation by the skin of their teeth. They did a great home form towards the end of the season, and Frank Lampard did very well with that.
And these things can happen, and things can come on top very quickly, and Everton can point to the fact that they had a lot of players...
That's a dramatic turnaround.
It is a dramatic turnaround. I think the Carlo Ancelotti appointment at the time was something I questioned, because I thought it was a Hollywood signing. Somebody I know very well, who's very well connected in European football, that's an elite director of football, questioned the legitimacy of Ancelotti's intentions, and so it proved that Ancelotti has gone out the door the first time a bigger opportunity came along. It was the wrong move for Everton. On paper, it looked like a massive coup. In reality, he signed people like James Rodriguez that didn't work for Everton because they just weren't committed to the cause and weren't the right player, but ultimately cost implications. Other players that have been suspended for reasons that are not football related, and so on and so forth, that have brought them into this situation. Now, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And Moshiri keeps making these fundamental appointments that are flawed. Marco Silva, flawed. And when you talk about Martinez, a lot of Everton fans weren't happy with Martinez. They thought that the kind of football that he was playing was tippy-tappy and wasn't particularly engaging for them. So there is an element of the Everton fans have to own some of their own thinking, but they deserve a little bit better from the group of players that they had on the pitch. Lampard now is getting a slightly better blend, people like Tarkowski coming there will give them more quality.
They've been really impressed with him since he's arrived at the club, and they think he's going to be big.
Well, he's a decent player, isn't he? I mean, I've also seen players running ragged, but I think ultimately that he is better than what they've got, and that's the object of the aim. So Moshiri they're not for sale. Well, would you rather have somebody outside saying, "Oh, for God's sake, someone buy this," right? Yeah. So with that in mind, it's a better of the two alternatives. I think Everton fans are great football fans. I think it's a great football club. I know I defend Bill Kenwright, and Everton fans question me because he's my mate. I'd like Bill. I do think he has the best intentions in Everton in mind. I think Marcel Brands was a charlatan. I think some of the decisions that they've made, I think Denise could have done better in her capacity. And I think all of them lead to a position where Moshiri needs to listen to the right people, and not people like Kia Jarapshin.
So now they're in a situation where in the next few weeks they want to get in, as far as I understand it, 3 or 4 more faces into the club.
Well, they can do that.
They want to get 5 or 6 out of the club to just get the balance of the dressing room right.
They've got Richarlison as a profit.
Farhad Moshiri says, judge me at the end of the transfer window. We know the parameters. He's got to get 3 and he's got to get 5 out.
Yeah.
At the end of that, if he has managed to do it and given Frank Lampard what he wants, then can we say everything's settled at Everton?
No, judge them how their team performs on the pitch. That people would suggest that the signings that they've made in previous. I mean, I never understood why they paid £35 million for Alex Iwobi. I know he did very much better towards the end of the season and showed some real gusto and spirit. But the fact that Arsenal, would have sent him around in the cab for £35 million made you question why Everton would be paying that kind of money. And some of the deals that they've done, they've had their pants pulled down royally. But the bottom line is no, don't judge him by the nature of the players that they bring in. Judge him by the performance of this team, because he's made an appointment with Frank Lampard. They brought in a backroom staff of Paul Clement to give him some proper headroom and support behind it, because my accusation about Lampard was he didn't have enough quality behind him. He now has decent assistance behind him. So judge Everton by how they start their 5 or 10 games, not by how many transfers Moshiri's able to bring in.
Do you think that stadium will get built?
Yeah, I think so. They'll find funding for it. I don't think Moshiri will be writing any cheques out for it. I think they'll find some form of funding mechanism that enables them, with the increased capacity they're going to get, to service a debt that will be utilised to build the stadium in the first place.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.